In golf, why is it so hard to strike a long iron pure? And I get these questions all the time as well. Do I need to hit my long irons the same as my short irons? And why are my long clubs slicing and my short clubs going straight or even drawing? In this golf lesson, I'm going to give you all the answers to help you hit your long irons long and straight. Oh. Before we get into these tips on how to strike your long irons pure, if you're new to the channel, hello and welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Little reminder for you all, if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that big red subscribe button. Turn your bell on so you get notified of when I upload all my new videos, and hit the thumbs up as it helps the channel out. Let's get into these tips. First up, should you be hitting your long irons the same as your short irons? Simple answer, no. There are a number of things that are different when it comes to hitting those long irons. Your swing speed, stance width, angle of attack, ball position, swing direction, D-plane, to name a few. So let's break it down to help you learn how to hit your long irons. Swing speed and stance width. I've got two clubs in my hand here, my 3-iron and my pitching wedge, or 20-degree long iron. Now, these two are going to be swung at completely different speeds. The shorter club, the pitching wedge, is going to be a lot slower than my longer iron. So I'm going to have to change my width of stance. If I'm not swinging my pitching wedge as fast, I'm hitting this about 125, 135 yards, depending on what I want to do with it, my stance is going to be a lot narrower. I don't have to swing this hard and gain as much traction as what I would with the long iron. So my stance is going to be a lot narrower. We switch that to the longer club. I'm going to start to try and hit this 220, 230, 100 yards further than what my pitching wedge is. So I'm going to be swinging this a lot faster, and I'm going to have to get some serious ground forces going, grip going, and that width of stance is really going to help me achieve that. Take a look at the difference between the two. My 4-iron, I've got the inside of my feet pretty much on the outside of my shoulders, a real wide stance, whereas my stock pitching wedge, if I'm hitting that full distance, the outside of my feet are more towards my shoulder line. As you move up from the short clubs to these longer clubs, your stance width should gradually be getting a little bit wider and a little bit wider until you get all the way up till driver. And that leads us on nicely to ball position and angle of attack. I'm going to keep my two clubs in my hand here, my 3-iron and my pitching wedge. Now, the ball position is going to slightly change as you move up to those longer clubs as well, because we want the angle of attack of these clubs coming into the golf ball slightly different. Angle of attack with your short clubs, you want steeper into the back of that golf ball, whereas your longer clubs, you want a little bit shallower, still hitting down, but not as much down as with these short irons. And simply just changing your ball position is going to help you achieve those different angles of attack. Let's go with lead armpit being the lowest point of our arc. So my arm is at full extension with that club, and my club is on an arc, and it's going to bottom out, it's going to hit its lowest point around my lead armpit. Now, if I move my ball position back further and further and further, my angle of attack is going to get steeper and steeper and steeper, and vice versa. If I put my ball position forward of my lead armpit, my angle of attack is going to get more positive. I'm going to start hitting up on that golf ball, and that's where we want those ball positions to gradually change, like stance width, as those clubs get longer. Your shorter irons being further back, and as you get longer and longer in those clubs, that ball position sneaks further and further forward, changing that angle of attack, allowing you to launch that ball slightly different with each club. Now, moving on from ball position and angle of attack, that's also going to now affect your club path and swing direction. Take a look at this. This is a little visual aid that I've created. So the golf club's on the floor and my target line. This is my swing arc, the green sticks coming in and coming in after the golf ball. Now, my ball position is right in the middle of my stance. So as my swing comes down and hits its low point, My swing direction is 0, 0. My club is on a path that's 0. My angle of attack is 0 because it's at the bottom of my arc. Everything lines up right at the bottom. As soon as I start to change my ball position, so I'm now going to move it back, my club is going to have a steeper angle of attack and my path is going to be more to the right. If I now start to move my ball position forward, now what you'll see sort of driver ball positions, I'm going to now hit my golf ball later in the arc on the way up, and my path is going to move more out to in. And if you don't recognize that in your golf swing, that it's happening when you're changing club, that club path might be adjusting, you could be creating some real different ball flights. Let's say that your face to target stays the same throughout your whole bag, and your path is changing around your face to target. All of a sudden, with your lower lofted clubs, your path is now in to out with that face square to target. Let's assume that it's square to target, that face every time with every club. Your face is now close to that path and your short clubs are going to draw. You have your face pointed at the target with your longer clubs as well, same as those short clubs, but now your path is moving out to in just because of that ball position. You're now slicing those longer clubs. And let's go one more step. I've related that last example with my face being in line with the target each time. But in reality, you're probably going to have a face to path, which is similar with all clubs. Probably for most golfers that slice the golf ball, you're going to have a face to path that's open. So whether you're hitting that shorter club and you have your face open to your path, that ball with the ball position back is going to start further to the right, and then pushing that ball position forward with those longer clubs, that ball is now going to start further down the left. So if you struggle with start direction, it's probably because you're not adjusting your aim depending on your swing direction because of that ball position, which is changing with each club. So real simply, if you're pushing your ball position back with those shorter clubs to get that angle of attack going down, you might want to start aiming a little bit more left. If you're pushing your ball position forward with that driver to change your angle of attack and hit up more on the golf ball and these longer irons because you don't want it to be as down as those shorter clubs, then you're going to have to start aiming a little bit more right because your swing direction is going to be left. We need to shift that to the right. Or you can play around with paths and how you shift your weights and things like that to adjust your path. Golf's so complicated, isn't it? And I'm trying to make it as simple to understand as possible. But sometimes it's not just black and white. You have to understand what's happening at impact to make sure that you're hitting these longer irons as pure as you possibly can. So we've got stance width wider because we're swinging these clubs faster as we get longer and longer in our golf bag to help speed up this longer iron and start to strike it better. We've got ball position, which is going to affect our angle of attack. We want it slightly back of our armpit, so we're hitting slightly down on the golf ball. Not as far back as those shorter clubs, which are going to have a steeper angle of attack, just slightly back of your lead armpit. And then you're thinking about where to aim because of those things affecting your swing directions. Shorter clubs, you might want to aim a little bit more left. As you get longer and longer, you start to aim straighter, and maybe with those drivers you start to hit up, you might want to aim a little bit down the right. Depending on if you're good and can change paths with swing thoughts and how you're shifting weights and things like that in your swing, then you don't have to change your aim. Side note for you all down there, I'm classing long irons as sort of, depending on what clubs you've got and what loft they are, 6 iron maybe, 5 iron, 4 iron, 3 iron and 2 iron. Some people still have 2 irons in their bags, but those are what I'm classing as long irons. Now, if you find that your clubs start to bunch up around this area, get some hybrids in your bag, forget long irons, get hybrids. It's going to help you launch the golf ball better and hopefully get a little bit more distance and start to space out those clubs a little bit better. The final thing that I mentioned earlier on in the video was D-plane, and that subject is a little bit more confusing and I don't have the bits and bobs to explain it as well as I want to. So in the comments down below, let me know if you want a video on D-plane and why your shorter clubs might go straight and even slightly draw and your longer clubs might fade. Getting the basics and fundamentals right with these longer irons with some swing speed is only going to help you strike those longer irons pure. Let me know in the comments down below, what's your longest iron in the golf bag, and does it come out of the golf bag very often? Do you struggle with it? Do you want to learn how to hit your long irons better? Like I say, fundamentals are going to help strike the golf ball like that. Oh, that is how to hit a long iron pure.